the Nazi Party ended up winning over Germany because of their insights, are because of their rhetoric that they were giving out, the propaganda, blaming the Jews for everything. They was looking for a scapegoat. The Germany morale was down. Nobody was proud to be German. So this Nazi party gave them um, pride to be proud of Germany again.
Trackaholic on the beat.
Danger. That chopper get to singing like Patty. My nigga said he stuck in the attic. This Henny in the cup straight had me sticking to the code. My nigga street savvy. My cousin got caught with a stainless. I never showed a gun for entertainment. I'm leaving in this game with who I came with. I told him stay safe. He told me stay dangerous. Had to double back for the second batch. Following my
Yeah, 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 yeah. All that, all that, all that, all that. Hey, have you ever heard the theory that today's European Jews are not from the Middle East, but from a mysterious Turkic kingdom called Khazaria that converted to Judaism and somehow became what we now know as the Ashkenazi Jew? But today we go fact versus fiction. Some say it's history, others say it's a conspiracy. But we gonna go through the story all the way from the steppes of Central Asia all the way to the dark halls of Nazi Germany. I am your host, Danger, and this is No Backpedal. Hey, the first thing I want to cover is the Khazarian Jew. Right, story of the Khazarian Jew, the background of the Khazarian Jew. All right, so this is a place, Khazaria, which was a kingdom between the 7th century and the 10th century. All right, that converted to Judaism. Some say that it was political. Others say that it was genuine, that they really wanted to be Jewish. Okay. So the story that is told that about the Khazarian Jew is that their kingdom resided on a border, which was a trade border, where both Christians and Muslims came to trade at. And it was a constant conflict between the Christians and the Muslims. The Turkic, Khazarians were nomads, semi-nomads that did not have a religion per se. Right. So, in order for a certain religion to control a border, they wanted to convert the Khazarians to that religion. So there was a time where the Christian leader came to the Khazarian, what they call um, Nogon, right, which is a king in the Khazarian language, all right, the Khazarian region. They called it a Nogon. Okay, so the Christian leader came to the Khazarian leader and asked them to convert to Christianity. And the Khazarian leader not wanting to convert to Christianity because he did not want to choose sides, so then he would be going to war with the other side, right? Um, so the Christians, which is the Byzantine Empire, was on the west of this Khazarian Empire, and then the Islamic Caliphate, right, was at the south of this empire. So the Christian um, leader went to the Khazarian leader and asked him to convert to Christianity. So the Khazarian leader, not wanting to convert to Christianity, asked the Christian a question. He said, "Would you prefer for me to be for me to convert to Islam, or would you prefer for me to convert to Judaism?" And the Christian leader, not wanting, them having odds with the Muslim side, not wanting them to convert to Islam, said, "Well, we'll rather you be Jewish." Okay, so that was that, right? And the story continues that the Islamic leader came to the Khazarian leader and asked him a similar question. He was trying to convert the Khazarian leader to be Muslim, to convert to Islam, to submit to Islam. Okay, so he asked the question. The Muslim guy asked the question, "Hey, why don't you convert to Islam?" And so the Khazarian leader responded in his own question: "Would you prefer for me to convert to Christianity, or would you prefer for me to convert to Judaism?" And the Muslim leader responded, "Well, I would prefer for you to be um, Jewish, because again, he didn't want him to convert to Christianity, because then that would mean that the Christians would control this border, and these are people that the Muslims is in conflict with. So that would have been less money for their empires." And the same thing for the Christians. They didn't want the Khazarian leader to convert to Islam, because then that would mean that the Muslims would control this border where this trade is being conducted. And so there you have it. The Khazarian leader said, "Okay, well, we're gonna convert to Judaism." And this was between the 7th century and the 10th century, so about the 8th or 9th century. They were in Khazaria, and the leaders, which was the um, Nogon, he got converted to Judaism, and the other leaders also follow suit. But that does not mean that everybody in this region was considered Jewish. Okay, right. So this is the backstory of the Khazarian Jew. Right, they end up having problems with the Rus, which is now known as the Russians. They end up having problems with the Rus, the Vikings, the early Vikings, right? And the early Vikings took over Khazaria, which made the Jews flee south, west, and southwest. Right, they spread it all over. So the question is, where did the Khazarian Jews go? All right, which makes me segue into the next part of the podcast, which is the Ashkenazi Jew, which Ashkenazi comes from the Bible. It's a medieval term that means German or Germany. Right? I don't know if that's what it meant in the Bible, but the medieval times they wanted to uh, identify which Jews, which is which, because there were Jews that had spread all over, right? There was Jews in Spain, Portugal. There was Jews in Greece, Italy, and all these different places, and some had went to Europe, right? So the Jews that we're talking about, which is the Jews of the Holocaust, right? We're talking about the Ashkenazi Jew, right? So their origin, some say that they don't have any origin in the Middle East, because their skin is pale, right? They're Europeanized, but there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that in 70 AD, General Pompey invaded Israel or Judea, okay, Palestine, which we know it as today in Israel, right? General Pompey invaded this place in 70 AD, and the Romans took over. So Rome conquered Israel, and that made all the Jews, the current Jews that was there, flee. So this is way before, right, the 8th or 9th century AD, right? So the Khazarian Jew came later than these Jews, which are the Ashkenazi Jew that we know today, right? But at this time, they wasn't called the Ashkenazi Jew; they were called Jews, right? Because they were at home, right? They were in Judea, they were in Israel, right? And so what happened was once General Pompey um, conquered Israel, conquered Judea, right? That made everybody flee, which they try to you know a lot of historians, when you ask about the Jewish heritage, they say that this is the book of Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy, right? Um when when God said that he was going to send the Jews to the four corners of the earth. And mind you, at this time, nobody that we know of had been to the Western Hemisphere of the world. So these are the four corners of the earth to them. You know, North Africa, uh, um, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, right? Northwest Africa, right? So these people kind of like scattered all over the place. They were in Greece, they were in Italy, they were in all, like in all of the four corners of the earth, so to speak. Right. So when we talk about the Ashkenazi Jew, the question is their heritage from Israel? I'm not going to give my opinion, which my opinion is, they could be from Israel. They could be from the Mediterranean. They could be from the Middle East. The DNA says that they have Middle Eastern blood in their blood. Their DNA has Middle Eastern in it. Okay? Okay? So, this group of people, the Ashkenazi Jew, all Jews, right? Even the Khazarians, I don't, because they're still scattered somewhere, and they probably blended in with the other Jews because who knows, where everybody went. And, if you converted to Judaism or if you married um, someone that was of the Jewish faith, then you converted or adopted that lifestyle or that uh, like religious belief, all of that. So that could have mixed. That could have mixed. The Khazarian Jew and the Ashkenazi Jew could have mixed, right? Or the original Jew, Jewish faith, Jewish people, Jewish group from Israel or Judea, they could have mixed with other people. That doesn't take their bloodline away. But you let me know down up in the comments what you think about that, right? Does that does that diminish or does that take away the bloodline of the 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 Judea or Israelites, um, that we knew or that we know or that we read about? Okay, so some like to compare that to the African Americans that's in America. right? The African Americans that's in America do not look like the Western Africans that we derive from. Okay, you understand where I'm going with this, right? Because we're not being disrespectful today, but this is no backpedal where we seek truth and we find out what's going on, right? So some might say that this is true that the Khazarian Jew converted into Judaism, which that's a fact. But then when they scattered, they went to the four corners of the world, which of the known world at that time, right? And these somehow became the Ashkenazi Jew, right? Or the Jews from Spain, right? Or the Jews from Western Europe, right? Or even some of the Jews that's in America today. We're not here to disrespect anybody, right? We're just here to seek the truth. All right. So this group of people have always been dealing with propaganda, slanders, right? Um, people saying that they're not, who they say they are, and what have you. Okay, so this brings up another topic, which I want to talk about the Ashkenazi Jew, which is the German Jew, right? And the 6 million Jews that were that were killed in the Holocaust, which some say it may be fiction, some say it may be fact. Um, what I gear towards is that it it wasn't a game. You know, this person, right, which I'm gonna say his name, right, which I hope YouTube doesn't ban me for this, or TikTok, or any of the sites. But I'm gonna say the man's name, Adolf Hitler. All right, all right. Which some can agree that this person was an evil man. This this man was an evil man. All right. I would think that everybody could agree with this. All right. So the war started, World War I started, and to my knowledge, I think that it started with Austria-Hungary, but I'm not sure. So again, hey, comment and let me know what you think. All right. But to my knowledge, it started with Austria-Hungary, right, which is south of Germany. Right. Austria-Hungary wanted to expand their kingdom, or their empire, whatever you want to call it. This is around the 1900s. Okay, and they asked their sister country or their brother country, "Hey, can you know, you know, like, let's be in cahoots. Let's go at the east of us and the west of us. Let's try to take over the world. Why not? Everybody wanted to take over the world. Some were stopped. Mostly everybody was stopped, right? Right. So Austria-Hungary partnered with Germany, and they went to war against the East, Russia, and the West, Europe. They wanted to conquer it all. But there were people in Germany that were against the war. There's always going to be people that's against the war, but everybody wants to be free. But freedom costs. The people in Germany, so somehow, like, these these people are the Jewish group of people, and they're protesting, and they're spreading, you know I don't know what's going on actually, but I know that they were against the war. They didn't want this to be happening. They wanted peace. And Hitler looked at this as bad for the morale of Germany. So you got to compare that to today in America. So you have groups of people that are against whatever war, the war that we went against Iraq and Iran, right? People were against that. People protest. I mean, the Vietnam War, people were against that. People protest that, right? That's the freedom of speech. But at this time, who's to say how much freedom that these people had in Germany? Because at this time, it was still a monarchy. King Kaiser was the leader of Germany at this time during World War One. Now, in 1918, this war ended, World War One. Germany was defeated. Germany had bad morale. People weren't proud to be German. People were unemployed. They had no money, no food, and they were disappointed in the Treaty of Versailles. The uh, if I'm not mistaken, that's the name of it, which said that you know Germany was gonna be at peace, right? If you know anything about that treaty, please comment. Please let me know. Right. So this treaty, again, all of these things, unemployment, no food, people were as poor as I don't know what, made them want to place the blame somewhere. And you know where they place the blame at? At the people that was always being blamed for everything, right? The people that's been persecuted forever, right? And I asked the question, why has everybody always had a problem with this group of people of the Jewish faith? And the answer that I came up with was that seeing that a lot of the world converted to Christianity, I feel like that they were mad at the Jews because hypothetically or um yes, the Jews were accused of crucifying Jesus, right? Am I wrong? The Jews did not believe Jesus, right? Right? What did they call it? The fallacies, right? I'm not sure. Right? Comment. Let me know. But this group of people were persecuted because of their faith and that they didn't believe that God's son came here to teach that the kingdom is inside of you. They called that blasphemy. To teach that I can do everything with the strength that God has given me. To teach you that, to teach all of us that. They didn't like that. So again, I'm not persecuting them. I'm just giving what I think that is why people always had a problem with this group of people. So again, Hitler hated these guys, right? They were bankers, they were politicians, you know, eventually. Or what which yeah, they was a part of the parliament. They were because this is what I'm saying, like, who knows? Because you gotta think of America now, right? America, you have African Americans that's somewhere up in the White House or in a government or somewhere just around. So a monarchy is just like a like government, but it's a ultimate ruler, right? It's the ultimate ruler, but they're gonna have a council like around them, right? Everybody knows that, right? If you've seen any any movie, right, any European movie where there was a king or a queen, they're not just they do make the final decision, but they do have advisors, right? So you got to think of America and like and like how it is. It could be African Americans. It could be people. It could be Asian people. It could be Indian people. It could be any nationality um, that is in um, the government or the council or the parliament is what we're talking about today, right? So Hitler had a problem with these guys. After World War One, they didn't know what to do. So it was this group of people called the Nazi Party that Hitler did not create. That's what people don't understand. He didn't create the Nazi Party. These people were already established. Okay. Well, I won't say established, but they were a group. You know what I'm saying? Like the 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 people with the guns, or right, or the Black Panther Party, right? Let's say that, right? They were trying to establish themselves. You know, you know. If you didn't know that, back in the day in America, the Democrats and the Republic uh, was on the same party, was in the same party. It was called the Democratic Republic. Right. So if you didn't know that, look that up. And they were going against the liberals. Right? So they split up the Democrats and the Republicans, and then we still have the liberals. Right? Correct. All right. So moving on. Moving on. So the Nazi Party is having these meetings. You know what I'm saying? It's like I mean, you could compare it to the Ku Klux Klan, right? What if the Ku Klux Klan had a Ku Klux Klan party, right? And they end up coming into power. What would have happened to the African Americans of today, which some people say are the true Jews, because we were scattered in the four corners of the earth during this transatlantic slave trade. Right? That's this is he say she say, right? There's no archaeological proof, right? But some say it is. Some say it is. Do your own history, do your own work, do your own research, and find out for yourself, because this is a spiritual journey. And so we're trying to help people figure out things for themselves. All right. So let me go back to the Nazi Party. Right. They're having meetings. Right. And in the beginning, Hitler actually was working as a secret agent. He was undercover to figure out what this Nazi Party was about. Because again, remember, this was a monarchy in Germany until 1919. This was a monarchy. Okay, King Kaiser still ruled after World War One, right? But they didn't have a lot of stuff, a lot of resources left after World War One. So King Kaiser pretty much like wasn't really as established as he wanted to be at this time, because the faith wasn't believing in him, right? So Hitler went undercover to see what this Nazi Party was about. So he was going to these groups and seeing, you know, what they were talking about, and they blamed the Jews for everything. You know, all the propaganda that you can think of. This is called the stab in the back myth. They blame the Jews for everything. They blame them. They felt like that they gave secret information to people um that 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 caused Germany to be defeated. Right? But we know facts that we don't like. That's not a fact. But we know facts that Germany had took over a lot of land to the east of them and to the west of them. They had conquered France. They was at the back of France, right? And to um they were moving to Great Britain. But to get to Great Britain, you have to travel by sea or you have to fly. And again, Germany didn't have all the resources to begin with. This is why they felt like that they needed to go and try to conquer and plunder and pillage, because they needed more resources at this time, right? So Great Britain was already like established. They had, naval bases, they had air force, right? All like already. Germany had it too. So that's how, you know, they had took to the air, and um that's where they were defeated, right? So Great Britain started pushing back. So Germany ended up losing France, which then they tried to actually take everybody from the west and start pushing everybody to the east, which is Russia, right? This is World War I, right? And so once Russia defeated Germany, they had to surrender. Right? It was over. All right. So I'm kind of like jumping back and forth. So please follow me. Right. So now um travel travel back forward to um 1918, 1919, where this Nazi party is trying to establish themselves. Right. Hitler goes into these meetings. He's attending these meetings a couple times a week, and they're giving their rhetoric. They're teaching their propaganda program. And Hitler finds out that he has more in common with these guys than he knew. So he was supposed to be there undercover, right? Which I'm sure that this has happened to lots of undercover agents or um, police officers, right? It's a movie called In Too Deep, right, with Omar Epps and LL Cool J, right? If you get a chance, go check it out. But anyway, sometimes these people, they kind of become the person that they're trying to catch, right? Because you kind of gotta like everybody is human, you know, and everything is about energy. I always go back to energy. If you're around four rich people, right, you're gonna become the fifth one. If you're around four broke people, then you're gonna become the fifth one, right? So birds of a feather flock together. It doesn't always apply, but for the most part, it does. So this guy Hitler is finding himself to be intrigued by what the Nazi party is preaching. He ended up rising to being one of the leaders or speakers in the Nazi party. Because why wouldn't he be? Right? Why wouldn't he, if I'm well, that's kind of like uh controversial because if I am undercover, then I would probably want to remain undercover. But you know, but to get to who the boss is, you got to kind of like move up the ladder, right? So Hitler ends up starting to speak at these like rallies that the Nazi Party is like having. Um, so we talked about this the stab in the back myth. All right. So 1919, they established the Weimar Republic. Right. So this country is now a democracy. It is no longer a monarchy. In 1919, the monarchy ended. King Kaiser was the last king, right? So now it's a democracy. So now people are voting, right? This is a fragile, fragile democracy because they don't know, it's not established like that. This is brand new. So they don't know really how it's gonna go. All right. Um, so the Nazi party end up winning over Germany because of their insights are because of their rhetoric that they were giving out, the propaganda, blaming the Jews for everything. They was looking for a scapegoat. The Germany morale was down. Nobody was proud to be German. So this Nazi party gave them um pride to be proud of Germany again. Right? So they elected a president in 1922. I can't remember his name. It's like Von something. And because the Nazi party kind of got him elected, um, he made Hitler at this point was the leader of the Nazi party. He made Hitler the chancellor, which I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that this is like a vice president. I'm gonna go on a stretch on a limb, but again, if I'm wrong, please comment down below. So now that Hitler's the chancellor, he's able to put in different laws and all these good things. Because again, these are well not good things, bad things, but um, this is a fragile democracy. They don't really know what's going on. They got the president, and then Hitler is the chancellor. Okay, right. So in 1933, I do believe 1934, the president dies. Okay, all right. I think I'm jumping ahead. I think I'm jumping ahead. It was something that had happened to made them go into an emergency state in Germany, right? It's called the Reichenstag fire. Right? So I'm gonna compare the Reichenstag building to the park. Don't that sound familiar? I'm sorry if it just blacked out. I just noticed. I don't know what's going on with my camera. But anyway, the Reichenstag fire, right? Which was a mysterious fire that nobody knows how it started or who started it, right? But that sounds familiar. I'm gonna compare the Reconstock building to the Pentagon, right? Don't that sound familiar? This mysterious event occurs that kills or I don't know hurts a lot of people, and now we're looking for somebody to blame. Somebody because history does not repeat itself, but people definitely take tactics from history and because we don't know about them because we're not doing our own research that they re-implement them and then they make it seem like it's brand new, right? So the planes flying into the Pentagon, I this is all conspiracy. This is not what a fact is that a plane flew into the Pentagon. That's a fact. A fact is that the Reconstock building was set on fire. These are facts. But listen to the similarities though. Once the Reichenstag fire took took place, they were looking for somebody to blame, and guess who they chose? You got it. You said it. The Jews. That's who they blame, right? They blamed them for the Reichenstag fire, which put the country of Germany in in a state of emergency, right? So now Hitler is able to pass the act called the Enabling Act, which gave him ultimate power, which gave him control over everything. Now everything is on a lockdown. Everything is on a lockdown. Man, that sounds so familiar. A plane crashing into the Pentagon. Rest in peace to all those people. It's not about the people. It's about the system, right? A plane crashing into the Pentagon, a plane crashing into the Twin Towers, and now, wow, we're in a state of emergency. Now nobody's coming in and nobody's coming out, right? So this allowed this guy Hitler to ease himself into the rule of dictatorship. Once once the president died in 1933, okay? In 1933, as a matter of fact, that's when the Reichenstag fire was. It was in 1933. All right. Once the president passed, I'm not sure if the president passed in 1933. I'm gonna give it a year and say 1934, right? I'm gonna say 1934. If I'm wrong, comment down in the comments and let's start a battle. All right, let's start some controversy. All right, because I'm here for it. Right? So the Reichenstag fire, Reichenstag fire allowed Hitler to ease himself into dictatorship. When this happened, we're in a state of emergency. They're in a state of emergency, not we. I know I keep kind of trying to compare it to America, but not we. They're in a state of emergency, and Hitler passes the Enabling Act. Right, so you got to be careful because it's it's a democracy, but you know people like to manipulate democracy. All right, all right. So now that Hitler uh is empowered, the president died. He merges the chancellor and the president role into one and calls it the what? The Führer. The Führer. So now it's a dictatorship. He on and popping. He takes away elections. You can't even vote to elect anybody else. And comes up with the term Hell Hitler. He's trying to make it back into a monarchy. Can you understand that? Can you see that? Can you see that? All right. All right. And so this person is trying to um make this into a monarchy, which he ends up turning into a dictatorship. Right? He ends up turning into a dictatorship. And he's rallying people behind him because he's spreading propaganda about the Jews, blaming them for everything, you know, um, making it seem like that they're an enemy of the country. He wants to exile them, or better yet, he thinks that he should exterminate them. So this is when he takes their rights away. He strips them of their rights. They have no rights in Germany anymore. And the Nazi party creates a army, right, which ends up becoming the Gestapo, right? And they are police officers that are policing um, the country of Germany. There is what you call uh, checkpoints. You know, there you have to establish yourself um, as a Jew. You have to proclaim your faith, which is kind of what they're doing to people in Israel, right? They're doing that to the Palestinians, which is not okay because supposedly they were persecuted this same way, you know, you know. So we got to ask the question, why are they doing that to the Palestinians now when the Germans did that to them? And so they're in concentration camps, and then that's when Hitler started to exterminate um, 6 million Jews. 6 million Jews. It's tragic. It's awful, right? But you could compare that to the genocide in America on African Americans, right, which was happening before that, long before that. But that's not what we're here for. We not like I'm like I could talk about that. I can yeah, I'm gonna get to that at a later episode, but because today we're talking about the genocide that was placed on the Jews in Germany. 6 million Jews were killed, gassed, shot in a what you call that when you stand in front of a line full of guns, right? A gun line. They were murdering people, right? 1.5 million children were killed in this atrocity, right? So when you think about Hitler, all you think about is hatred. All I can vision is hatred. But that raises the question, was he a patriot to Germany? You be the judge. Comment down below and let me know. All right. Whether you believe that the Khazar theory whether you believe the Khazar theory or not, the deeper question is, why do some people keep pushing these ideas? Are they trying to uncover the truth, or is it just shift blame? Don't let history be rewritten. Don't let history be rewritten to suit modern hate. Do your own research and ask the hard question. And most importantly, watch how the past repeats itself in real time. All right. If you enjoyed this episode, um, and it hit a nerve and open your eyes, right? Share it. All right. I always like to say, like, share, comment, and click that little bell so you know when we upload something. Hey man, it's your host, Danger, and this is No Backpedal, where we seek truth and find out what's going on. I'm out. Peace.
Trackaholic on the beat.
That chopper get to singing like Patty. My nigga said he stuck in the attic. This Henny in the cup straight had me sticking to the code. My nigga street savvy. My cousin got caught with a stainless. I never showed a gun for entertainment. I'm leaving in this game with who I came with. I told him stay safe. He told me stay dangerous. Had to double back for the second batch. Following my